What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the ITP Paladin. First and foremost, happy post-Turkey Day. It has been quite the Thanksgiving, and we are now entering the holiday season and festivities of Christmas, or Hanukkah, or pretty much whatever holiday you celebrate. I'm all for it. The point is that my entire last 2 weeks has been packed. My content creation has suffered for the last week and a half or so, and that is mainly due for two reasons. The little gremlin over in the next room who's supposed to be napping but is having trouble going down actually had her birthday just literally a day before Thanksgiving. I kid you not. It was like Wednesday to Thursday. Two things. We were prepping for food, prepping for her birthday, having a very nice time at it while I'm adding it. Yeah, so let's catch up with that first. Let's start off with a quick thank you, because I just put it on Twitter no more than an hour ago. In fact, maybe half an hour ago. My video for the AIM guide has broken 3,000 views. So once again, I am obligated, in sincerity, thank you to everybody who watched it. Thank you to everybody who potentially shared it. I'm actually not sure about that statistic, how many people shared it. I do know that a majority of it's still coming from Reddit, so people are still flooding in from there, looking for AIM guides and all that. All the feedback has been, even if it was negative in nature, it was still constructive and it was still positive in my viewpoint. For both criticisms as well as actual feedback, it has been very prominent and very productive. So for that, I sincerely thank everybody. It leads me on to a follow-up for that one, is that to kind of build off of that, I've been kind of bouncing ideas off of around a couple of people and just seeing like, okay, what should I do? Just trying to get some ideas, get the creative juices flowing. And what I'm going to look forward to, what I'm going to attempt to look into doing is kind of like a hero guide of sorts. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention I am a high-ranking gold player who's teetering on platinum. And the reason that this is important has to actually do with what I'm going to attempt to do in my content creation. And so I'm thinking, first off, to kind of break into the hero guides and coaching and all that, I'm going to do a hero guide on Soldier 76, someone who I have well over 300 plus hours, 400 hours or so on. And Soldier's like my main hero. He's someone that I play very often, and I think I can help out a couple of people. But the main purpose of this guide would not be for, higher ranking players, obviously. We opened up the venue into free-to-play players as well as the lower-ranking players, people in bronze, silver, and gold, who are having trouble climbing. So this guide would be kind of like, hey, examine your hero a little bit and know how to play him, and it would cover these kinds of things. So just be on the lookout. I'm going to be working on that for the next month or two, just trying to put it together and make sure that I don't have like a 5-minute video of telling you the same thing you've heard. It would be kind of like it would be kind of detailed how my AIM guide is. So I would be doing a lengthy video, but it would be more than just the surface level, oh, here's your overall hero. Like, no, it goes further. Speaking on that one, though, I should probably mention there is one other big deal, and that has to do in the fact that for some stupid reason I've noticed as of recently, because Overwatch 2 is now becoming more open to its player base, I've been finding that there are people that I have literally no idea existed. Like, legitimately. I've heard of players, Shore4, XQC, Flats, Emong, Jay. I've heard of like all the big name players and the people who make content and who actually do go through the effort of coaching, CarQ, so on. I've seen these quote-unquote coaches, and I would actually legitimately say that there are some that are pretty reputable and actually give you good coaching advice, and I would tell you to listen to them. Shore4 is one of them. Although he is prominently a player and not so much a coach, he still gives good educational content, and I referred to him in my AIM guide because he puts up a good point that not everybody talks about. But now I'm starting to see like these no-name individuals giving these bare bones pieces of advice for gameplay, and it's like, I don't know how I feel about them. Some of them is like very generic information, like here's a tank tip for everybody, and then it tells you the thing that everybody has known, like Zarya bouncing with her alternate fire. Like, everybody knows that. I'm pretty sure even the free-to-play players have probably figured that out. Like, they would have probably seen it. Like, that's not a tank tip. That's not a tip at all. Yes, it increases her speed. Yes, it gets her to from point A to point B faster. But that's not really so much a tip. What? Either way, the point is, I just thought I'd point that out because it's kind of like stupid to me. It's stupefying. I don't know what words to use anymore. I was losing brain cells watching it. Moving on. So here's something that I will cover. So as I was mentioning, for the last week and a half, I haven't been prominently playing, but I have been keeping an eye on the forums. And one of the most interesting things is the post-hero balance patch that they did. I don't know if I actually have that anywhere here. Was it no? Where are you? I have it on two separate pages, so we got to be very careful here. Let's put you into the window right here. And we are going to... Bam! Okay, so this is the last patch that they put through. So, forgetting all the minor things of defense matrix and competitive play and matchmaking with aim assist settings and all that, that was kind of cool. The hero update. So, Diva had a kind of like balance out. Whoa, not what I meant to do. There we go. So Diva had a kind of a balance out where her fusion cannons kind of received, like her damage output and everything kind of received a balance patch. Like they lowered it down, brought up her call mech, reduced by 12%. It's like these little nitpicky things to kind of keep her from being too in your face and too oppressive. Zarya received absolute nerfs on her particle barrier as well as projected barrier. Being reduced by the number of seconds and the cooldown increased by 1 second effectively for both. Genji receiving his maximum ammo reduced, as well as his damage output reduced. Excuse me. Junkrat receiving some nerfs to his steel trap. Didn't really affect his kit overall, but it did affect like how quick he needed to be about doing some certain things. Sombra receiving a heavy nerf to her hack abilities, and Kiriko receiving a small nerf to her swift step. I don't really think that was too much of a patch that we needed to worry about. Prominently speaking, though, the big hitters right now are Genji and Sombra. Let's talk about them. So a lot of people have been complaining on the forums, and I will not show that here because it can get quite lengthy and quite stupid. I honestly haven't, like, in the gameplay that I have been playing, Genji and Sombra, they may not be must picks because of the whole perception about them, but they are still hard to play against. Like, I don't understand why people thought, okay, let's just talk about Genji for 2 seconds with this particular topic. He did not lose a hefty spot in the top 5 must-pick heroes. If we look in Overwatch League or Overwatch Contenders, and I've been noticing this, especially in Contenders because I wanted the soldier skin, so I started watching, Genji is still somewhat a must-pick. Like, Sojourn's the obvious must-pick because she is still broken and she was not touched in this prominent patch. But Genji was still sort of a must-pick in the top 5, that there was gameplay for him versus other heroes. Yes, Reaper took that up because he's prominently a very powerful character that didn't actually get on the chopping block. But Genji was still strong enough in certain map situations where they were still playing him and he was getting value. I watched it myself as he was getting team wipe after team wipe consistently with the certain player. But here's the thing, he didn't see that much of a power reduction that people make it out to be. They're making it out that he is now a fully on useless character, but that's couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I did the math too. Just talking about the overall damage per shuriken, he's still able to deal... He's dealing like, what? Total amount of shots? He's dealing like 6 less damage across the board per shuriken. I don't know what words to put it. I had it in a previous self-argument when I was initially looking into the numbers and everything. He is still a powerful character. It didn't affect his short game so much as it affected his long game. So the ammo reduction is more worrisome in the long-term game because he can still get kills. If anything, it reduces his kill potential by 1 hero, but his squishy kill potential is still there. His short game was not affected as heavily as his long game. His long game was the amount of ammo he has to work with in a team fight. So he would have 2 less shots before he had to reload. But that's not totally as bad as people make it seem. Like, he's still a strong character. And then moving on to Sombra in that same instance, the only thing they really did was affect how her playstyle is, and the only real complaint that I would validly see is if you were honestly, everybody was just relying on her broken mechanics. Let's just dissect it little by little. The ability lockout duration, meaning how fast a person who was hacked could fight back, is reduced by 2.25 seconds. In fact, that is not even like a big part of her bringing down. I don't know the word to use it, like her placements. Like, she's still a pretty powerful character. Let's quickly acknowledge that she is. Her ability lockout duration went down by 2.25 seconds, and that wasn't bad. That mean, like, they even mention it here. They initially did her kit that way because they wanted people to essentially have a chance at fighting back. And at 1.75 seconds, that was just too much. That was just too much. You literally had like maybe a 20 or less percent chance of fighting back and winning. By doing what they did by 0.25 seconds, it kind of went up. It's still locked out for a short while, and it's still giving you the chance to fight back, but it gives you that much more of a chance of actually succeeding in fighting back and staying alive. So that really wasn't a big part of the nerf. But then the hacked enemies are no longer valid targets for 8 seconds while the effect is in play. That's fine. That means you now have to be strategic. And on top of that, they were already receiving damage. It's not fun to play against when you're literally perma-locked as long as Sombra's alive and behind and uncontested. Like, that was actually annoying, and I totally agree with that change. If you were exploiting that and that was your bread and butter, then that's your fault, not the hero's problem. It's you. You are just a terrible Sombra player that was exploiting a broken part of her kit, and now that she's reverted to something more balanced, that shows more about your playstyle and how out of position you would have been if you can't keep utilizing the same thing. They're locked out for 8 seconds. They're able to receive all that extra damage, that visibility through walls. Anybody who disagrees with this change was just exploiting a broken hero, and I honestly feel no sympathy for that. Which brings me to the last one, the hacked enemy damage multiplier reduced from 40% to 25%. That was perfect in and of itself, because now you have a better chance of fighting back on the first nerf that they mentioned, as well as it's basically an 8-second Discord orb without having the vulnerability of Zenyatta. For 8 seconds, they have 25% extra damage going towards them. That's where communication is key, positioning is key, so that you can get the hack off and get out and deal the damage. They basically made her kit, like, she was meant to be that back-end assassin, but you don't get to do that for free. You don't get to do that for little to no cost. You have to earn that. And with these nerfs, they made it a little easier for you to earn, like, high risk, high reward. There shouldn't really be too many heroes that have low risk, high reward. It's kind of weird. We can talk about this in another video, but I just want to point out for Sombra and Genji, it's not as bad a nerf as people made it out to be. And quite honestly, they are not must picks probably anymore, but they are still in the top 5 picked heroes. Like, you will still see Sombra from time to time. You will still see Genji probably more often from time to time, but maybe not as often. In fact, some of the contenders picks were going around Sojourn, Echo, Tracer, and Reaper. So maybe Genji would be the number 5 in this instance, because I did, again, like I mentioned before, see him in gameplay. I have yet to see Sombra. But she's still a must pick, and she's not as weak as you would make her out to be. You were just exploiting a very broken hero. And on top of that, Kiriko's more broken, and look at her nerf. Honestly, she could have used more. But that's aside from the point. Let's move on to the actual bread and butter of this video, which is the Ramattra thing. Did I accidentally pull that up on there? No, it's just showing the window. That's good. Okay, so Ramattra, so I'm not really going to talk about his kit or anything because I don't even understand his kit 110%. So I don't really want to talk about that. They do have some explanations here in the written form, so I may give that a read afterwards. But I wanted to theory craft like some of his counters by what I understand so far. So he has two forms: his Omnic form, which is looking like Zenyatta except he stands, and then his Nemesis form. So his Omnic form, he has a staff that shoots out little nanites and can deal out a consistent damage and what was it they said? Consistent pattern or something weird like that. Something really weird. And then he has a barrier that has high health, but it has a certain time limit, so you have to use it strategically. So basically, it was a Orisa barrier of sorts, except with a little bit easier placement from Sigma's kit. Then we have his Nemesis form that he has a block similar to that of Doomfist, but he could also use punches that deal piercing damage. But it looks like they don't deal a lot of damage. I believe that they're gonna have to work on that after he's released, but they're definitely gonna make it very powerful. His Nemesis is an 8-second ability with an 8-second cooldown, so you're not permanently in that form and you need to switch carefully. Rendezvous, Revenous Vortex, excuse me, I don't know why I said rendezvous, dyslexia here. But it grounds enemies and slows them. It's a decent aerial ability. It's kind of interesting. It could be, like it definitely helps with people who are having problems with Pharah, which is probably why they haven't done anything to her kit, but they're probably going to work around with Pharah at some point because of his kit changing up the meta. And even with Echo at that instance. And then finally ending on that, my alarm just went off, his ultimate, Annihilation. Okay, the Energy Swarm is kind of iffy. It's similar to Transcendence that it creates a big ring around him, as they're mentioning here, but it doesn't... This is where I'm confused about. I don't know the longevity of the ability or how often it does that, but basically he just needs to get in your face. And I don't think that it's so balanced. Like, they might have to tweak. What I could see as a potential nerf in the future may have to do with the range in which it does it and the amount of damage it does over time. So it's iffy. We're going to give that some time. I don't know how to examine that, but some heroes that I do believe will counter him. Let's stick with the tank list for 2 seconds since we have a broad range here. I think for tanks that he's going to be very strong against is barrier tanks like Reinhardt and Winston and Sigma. Particularly, he's going to have the strength when he's in Nemesis form. We're going to try and balance out here. So let's talk his Nemesis form. He's going to be strong against barrier tanks. Let's be honest. The reason he's going to be strong against barrier tanks is because he can pierce barriers. However, when he's in his normal form, I think he's just going to have really a huge strength against those who are able to dish out damage and not gain so much space. I'm describing this really weirdly, but I think he's going to do good against heroes that don't have those modes of protection like Wrecking Ball and Roadhog. Even D.Va to an extent, but she has her defense matrix, so maybe not so much. Tanks that will definitely counter him, I'm figuring, are going to be Zarya, Orisa, and potentially Junker Queen. It's kind of like she can take space. Doomfist to an extent. I'll go more into that in a bit. But Junker Queen or Zarya and Orisa. Zarya doesn't necessarily have mobility, but her bubbles allow her to get the space without taking the damage for a set amount of time, and it increases her output power, so she's able to make the press and put pressure. So Orisa, same deal. Junker Queen, same deal. They have the mobility abilities along with it, and they're able to block out damage in a different way compared to a barrier, so they'll be able to pierce, and I think that they're just going to be in Ramattra's face and more or less stop him while he's in his Omnic form before he can hit his other form. And then even if they have to do the long Duke out, I'm pretty sure the supports or lineups are going to keep them alive a little while longer, and Junker Queen's kit is just going to be very strong against it. It's a theory. And Doomfist... I mean, just look at what Doomfist is able to do in his kit. He's able to punch through a lot of stuff, so I'm pretty sure his kit's going to kind of counter Ramattra. We're just going to have to see. I'm very skeptical on him, though. Doing the support lineup because it's a short list as well. We're going to see. I'm pretty sure... I think he's going to have issues with the mobile ones, like Mercy, Kiriko, and Baptiste, and even to an extent Moira. But at the same time, I don't think it's mobility that's the issue. And Lucio, too, I should have just mentioned. He's going to have issues with trying to keep up with them, but that's mainly like a person-dependent thing. He's going to have trouble with Baptiste for sure. He may have trouble with Brigitte. May is the key word. She could take space, come forward, you know, deal consistent damage with her Inspire and all that. He might have trouble with Zenyatta. Actually might be a counter to him, strictly with the orb. That's kind of iffy. We'll look into that when the hero's released, and we'll play that out. I don't really know how to pinpoint a support lineup that might be able to... The ones that he's going to be strong against for sure are, without a doubt in my mind, probably Ana and Zenyatta for their lack of mobility, and the rest of them are going to be a little bit stronger against him. But time will tell for sure. I don't know how to pinpoint this. Just go ahead and crucify me for that, why don't you? Talking about the damage. Okay, let's be 100% honest. You're going to want, for any tank, someone who could deal out large amounts of damage, so I think that it's going to be Junkrat, Bastion. I want to say May. Junkrat, Bastion, May are going to be the top 3 counters for him. And it's going to be kind of weird how I explain this, but the reason I'm saying that, and let's just to remove the obvious Sojourn for 2 seconds, here's the reason why I think that's the case. Oh, and even Sombra, we're just going to put that out there as an obvious, and even the builders, we're just going to paint that as obvious. So here's the thing. Bastion, Junkrat, May, because they're going to be able to wipe out his barrier pretty quickly, and even if they don't wipe out the barrier quickly in the case of May, she's just an overall like displacement tank, and if he decides to go in by himself, he's going to be by himself, and May has self-healing capabilities while mobility becomes a bigger issue. He's going to be completely at a standstill and everybody should be able to focus him. So I think that those are going to be the top 3 heroes for him. And the ones that he's going to be strong against are heroes like Widowmaker, Ashe, Hanzo, and even into certain extents Torbjorn, and then even the flying heroes are going to have their difficulties. This is just going to take some more time to tell. Honestly, the ones that are able to generate their space and take space at a quicker rate, that like high mobility or just full-on press forward, they're not going to have that much trouble. So again, these are just some theories, but Ramattra, and this is a final closing of statement, basically. I like him. I like his look. I like his build. I like everything about him. He looks kind of cool. I think that he's going to be one of those heroes that's both. He's going to be on the 50-50 wagon. Like you've seen it with other heroes that you could look at and be like, yeah, that hero is going to be broken as crap when they come out, or that hero is going to be weak. Like you were able to kind of tell. Some of them look cool, and some of them you just didn't even really care. This one looks like he's both going to be a learning curve for the people playing him because of what he requires, and he's going to be really complicated to play against. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be putting out a balance patch for him at the end of at least 1 week. Or maybe not, because they're going with a model of not balancing until a major balance patch comes, which is a problem. It's a Blizzard issue, we already are aware. And I think that they need to do it more often, but digress for a different video. All in all, I don't hate him, and I kind of can't wait to play against him and to have him in the thing and work with him a little bit, see exactly what he does and understand his abilities a little bit more. That's going to be super fun, and play against him, play with him. It's going to be interesting, just to say the least. So with that, I've wasted 25 minutes just doing a welcome back video, so I think I'm done here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about literally everything that I talked about, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. I'll see you on stream tonight, and I'll see you the next time. Peace out.